Not hearing microphone. Microphone. Not hearing microphone. Microphone. Yeah, okay. There's that. I need... I've got assuming you can hear me, I'm just going to assume or presume. Got a window unit running. It's just too hot not to. I know that might create some annoying background noise, but there's no not running that thing the way the heat is these days. Welcome to what I've decided to call study hall this afternoon. I have a day off today since I'm working Saturday. Don't ask. It's not worth the explanation. But here I am, and what I have set up is, anybody watching, just give me a nod or something to let me know you can hear me and see me and all that stuff. What I have is, what do I have? Some old Battles of Napoleon stuff. Well, it's not that old. This came out over 10 years ago. I've just completely demolished the rule book, so I had to put it in sheet protectors. I keep coming back to it. I've been in contact with the designer off and on. I mean, I'm pretty smitten with the rule set. Anyway, that's another story. But that's what I have set up here. Now, here's the thing. I guess I like creating my own problems because although I have the table space to do line, column, march column, all that stuff, if I want to do the scenarios that are set up and play tested and ready to roll, about I'd say 10 of them in this book, which is one, I have to set them up a certain way. I also have to contain them within the hex a certain way. So we don't use hexes. Well, you're right. I don't necessarily have to, but then there's more thought involved regarding the non-use of hexes with this scenario because it's a hex-based game system. So I'll leave it at that. The black powder stuff, I can do just fine without hexes. I ignore them when I play that. But for this particular thing, I need to adhere to the hexes. So that means keeping them like this. So if I want to present a line or change formation, they're going to physically look the same. But I have a method that I've been fooling with to denote line, column, etc. I think I'm going to amend that now just for ease of play. I should have done this before turning the camera on so I could just roll right forward. But I think what I'm going to use is these table battles thing, these little red guys. And it's easy enough for the French because according to scenario rules, they're not allowed to form a line. They must remain in column. Why? That's not explained. We can present theories, but they're not allowed to. So it's really the British we have to worry about. Now, they can, to back up, the French can, of course, go in a square, although they won't need to do that either because the British have no cavalry. So they will remain as such, no problem. Now, again, the British can switch formation at their will. So I need to represent that. And what I have here is column, and I'll leave it unmarked if they're in column, but if they're in line, I will use these. So who is in line? That would be, these guys are in line. And it's just a small prerequisite I have to run through here, and then we'll be off and rolling. I don't have to learn rules or anything like that with this. And those guys are in column. I was using the dice to represent this, but that can get confusing if I'm really scooting forward here. Column, right? Okay. Column versus line. What's the benefits of those again? Well, column benefits movement, line benefits fire. And within these particular rules, you can't move more than one unless you're in column. Line, you can only move one. Although it looks funny, at least with the firing. The rules as they are, it looks funny if you have to be adjacent to someone to fire at them with the scale that I'm using figure-wise. So I think I at least need to amend that. I mean, I could stick with the movement as such, but I should probably, and I will, amend the ranges for rifle, musket, and artillery. Although there's no rifles in this scenario, so that just leaves musket and artillery. So we'll leave the musket range at 2 hexes, which still seems a little short, but it's certainly better than having to be adjacent. And then, of course, that leaves the artillery with, we could do a 2 hex, 4 hex, and maximum range 6 hex. That seems decent, huh? Why don't we do that? All right, so that's how we'll run it. This is turn 2. What happened on turn 1? Turn 1 consisted of movement primarily as the units close the gap here, and we had 2 French units here and 2 British line, well, a line and a light unit here engaged in melee. The French did nothing. They ruled horribly. But the British were able to push one of the this light French unit back. They also knocked out one of the stands, so they're down to 3, and this unit is disordered. Oh, and then this guy here was disordered by artillery fire from these guys here, and that's really about it, right? Right. So what happens on turn 2? Brace yourself. I don't think I've done a live play stream for a while. I've been doing that whole painting there thing there. I just kind of got sucked in a hole, and I've got more to do, but I don't have to go at the breakneck speed that I was going at. And in fact, there's really no reason to go at the breakneck speed that I was going at, but again, I feared that if I just fiddle-farted around, I'd never get it done. So I had to act like the world was going to end, and that's why I did it that way. All right, I'll shut up and get going here. First things first, we have to send dispatches to unit groups and assign orders. Now, at the beginning of the turn, the orders are declared for you, what everybody's going to do. After turn 1, you can attempt to change orders that you would wish to change. So everybody at this game's start was given a attack order, and there's 4 different orders that you can assign. There's attack, maneuver, reserve, which reserve is rarely used, but there is a benefit for being in reserve, as this is a card-assisted game. The incentive to put yourself in reserve is you get another 1 or 2 cards in your hand. I don't typically play with the cards. It doesn't necessarily need them, in my opinion. And defense is the other order, so the ins and outs of that will make themselves readily apparent as we move along. So that said, do I want to change orders? Now, here's the thing to consider. When you have an attack order, you can, well, there's zones of control, for lack of a better term. When you do have an attack order, you can move adjacent. If you do not have an attack order, you cannot move adjacent. Although, vice versa, if you have an attack order, you cannot move more than 1 hex at a time. To do that, you need a maneuver order, which disallows you from, you guessed it, moving adjacent to an opposing unit. That makes sense? It should. I can't physically attach commanders to a hex because there's not enough room. So if a commander is adjacent to a particular unit, we'll declare him as auto attached to that unit. So for instance, this guy here will automatically declared attached to this unit here. Otherwise, I'd have to set them on top, and then we don't want to do that. So the other thing that I mentioned in the past is the orders are assigned to each unit group, or I guess for lack of a better term, brigade. So we have a brigade here. We have a brigade here. Artillery is its own thing. Brigade here and a brigade here. you assign orders to each brigade via the brigade commander, and then we have a commander-in-chief. Well, that would be Wellington here. And the number, there should be a number. Why is there no number? Where is... Oh, okay. So the numbers that are listed under each order denote the sequence in which each unit group, or I guess brigade, will conduct an action. And I've already run down to save time here and wrote down the numbers. So number 2 is British. That is this guy here with this unit group here. As they are the lowest number in the available order sequence, they will and thus go first. So they currently have an attack order. And which doesn't allow me to do much, so I think I need to change that to a maneuver order. And let's see if we can do that. To do that, you simply need to conduct a morale test. And let's do that. And this is also run by a single D10, which might seem weird to you buckets of dice folks. But that's how it's run. I'll check the comments here. I see a number of you have stopped by to say hello. That tickles me to no end. Thank you guys for taking time out of your busy lives to watch me stumble and fumble about. 1die10 system here. We rolled a 10. I don't even have to do the modifiers. That's an automatic success. So his attack order changes to a maneuver order. And technically, I'm supposed to change orders for everybody. That is not a sequential thing that takes place. So these guys are fine. These are fine. They need to change. Let's see if these guys can change their attack order to a maneuver order. But you also have to consider, and this is tough to do playing yourself. So you want to move closer. That's a given. But you have to accept that the French are probably going to move closer as well. So it's really kind of a redundant or a superfluous moot thing for you to move with a maneuver order and the French move with a maneuver order. I mean, but again, in playing against yourself, it's hard to determine if you can benefit from one having an attack order and thus not needing to move as far and be ready for the opposing unit that will be maneuvering. So there's something to consider there. As I consider that, let's see. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave the British with an attack order because, you could argue historically they primarily found themselves in defensive notions. That leaves the French. Do they need to change anything? I think I already have. These guys are fine. So there's a unit group here with an attack order. You could argue I need to know. I'm keeping these guys with their current order. And these guys will indeed want to change the cavalry and the line infantry here are going to want to change their order. Once I do that, we'll really get the ball rolling here. Let me do that. 1, 2. Yeah, that'll be fun. So let's start with the infantry here. They do have an attached leader, so that will help in changing the order. Roll a die. If I get a 10, I don't have to figure this. It's a 2, so I'll run through quick the modifiers, but I'm going to guess that that's a fail on the order change. So the morale for them is 4. Add the number of bases in the unit. They're at full strength, so that makes 8. The morale value of one commander, who is a 3, so 9, 10, 11. The unit is not disordered, not routing, does not have a maneuver order, blah, blah, blah. So he did make it, but the only reason he did is because he had an attached leader. So he just made it. 11 is the magic number, as I've mentioned. Playing this game in the past, 11 or better is what you want for any positive results. Anything less than 11 is a nothing. And then the cavalry, we want to change to, yeah, we're going to have to do that. Cavalry needs to change to a maneuver order. Let's roll that up. That is a 2 as well, but we got an issue here because, well, primarily the issue is I'm probably standing in the way of the camera as I knock it over. This unit here is out of command. So here's our other cavalry of the same battalion or squadron, and they have an attached leader. So this is really only going to affect these guys, but you have to concern yourself with these guys just sitting back out of command. So what do I do about that? I'm going to leave them like they are. All right, so that brings us back to, because I don't want to move that right cavalry right flank up and put this unit at further out of command distance. That's just stupid, so I'm not doing that. That brings us back to, as we took the long scenic route around, back to number 2, which is the French. No, the British. Where's number 2 at? Oh, that changed because I changed their order. So they went from attack order to maneuver order, which changed that to a 38. So they are no longer going first. They drop to the bottom, and that means they will maneuver last. So that brings us to the French. Unit Group 5 will go next since their order changed. I have to remember to bear that in mind. And Unit Group 5 is this group here. Now we do have 2 units in contact here that can conduct melee, but that is not what happens during this phase. There's primarily 2 phases to a turn, and that will take place in the latter half of this turn. This turn will consist of pivoting or wheeling, changing formation, and moving. Since they have an attack order, they can't move adjacent, so you know what? I forgot to do something at the end of turn 1. We'll come back to that. But I am going to be able to move against these Highlanders. Not sure that's a good idea. I'm not moving adjacent to both of them. I'll move in such a way that I'm only adjacent to one of them, which will increase my survivability chances here. The leader will stay where he's at. These guys technically can't move because they're disordered, but they're disordered because I forgot to try to rally them at the end of turn 1. So we must yet again backtrack, try and pull a morale check on them. They are not attached to that leader, although it appears to be so. I do remember that. So we can't use their leader. They have a morale of 4. We roll a 10, so they rally automatically with that. Another 10 that has saved me. We also have these guys here that need to rally, and then we can go back up to speed. Let's see what happens to that British unit. You know, I forget what happens offhand if we fail to rally. I think nothing. Here we go. He gets a 4. They have a morale of 5. I don't think that leader's attached. Make him attached there. So 4, 5, what is that? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, he's already there. So he's undisordered. He's ordered. All right, back to this. We moved there. We're done. That's all we wanted to do, right? Oh, they rallied so they can move again. We'll move them back where they were. And bear in mind, these guys, these French, are still in column. They will always be in column. Not allowed to change to line. I don't know if that's because of a true quality thing or what, but that's what the rules state for the scenario. So that's that. That was French number 5 unit. That brings us to 8. Somebody with an order marker numbered 8 will go next. That is the British. Now I've got to find the 8. That's these guys here. They don't need to move. They're good where they're at. They are in line, though, which is bad for... You know what I forgot to do again? Okay, another forget. This is the 3rd forget. I've done my 3. So they move, so they can't do anything. Let's go back to these 2. So you can't fire in the first half of the turn phase. The second half is your melee cavalry charge. I'm going to go back and fire They moved too, though, did they not? They did. These guys did not, so they can fire. Let's fire with them. Bear with me, folks. We are live. Let's see. After I fire these guys, I'll check the comments. Sorry. Let's fire them, mark them so I don't get confused, which I get confused easily. Firing in column is probably a waste of time, but I mean, hey, it doesn't cost anything to do it, so let's see what happens. Let's roll. We want to roll high, if you remember. We did not. That's great. So we got a 4. Fire value. What is their fire value? Their fire value is a 1. That's average, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for each stand. Nobody's supporting. +1 for each rank in the target. Now I've lost count. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So they just made a result. The results are determined by drawing one of these cards. You draw a card, you look at the column. Now each card, the results are different. So just because you roll an 11 each time, if you were to do so, that would not mean that the result would be the same. So an 11 on this card says -2 morale check. So the worst that can possibly happen with this unit here from fire is they can become disordered. So they need to conduct a morale check. That is a 5. Find a morale sheet here. 5, and then the die roll makes 10 per figure currently in unit. 11, 12, 13, 14. No commander attached, not disordered, not routing. They do not have maneuver order. Not attacked on the flank. -2 is 12, so nothing going on there. But hey, you never know, you might get lucky. I mean, why waste a shot? That brings us to the French again. Somebody with a 9 is up next. Oh, I wanted to check the comments. Look at all you guys. You're in a talky, speaky mood today. This pleases. Hey, Von Holdinghausen. Welcome, sir. Hope you've been well. Sweden checking in. That's my people, my heritage, my history. What battle? This would be... So if you look at the units I'm using, they're late war, Waterloo fashion. But the particular battle that I am depicting here is in Italy, and this is MAIDA, or MAIDA. It is 9 turns. This took place July 4th, 1806, and there's a little blurb about the history of it, but I won't go into that now. Hey, Matt, how you doing? Good luck on your new game, dude. Been following you on that. Yeah, 28mm minis on Callistra hexes, you're correct. What system are you using for this? This is the Battles of Napoleon system that I have fallen in love with 10 years ago. Yeah, lots of money, lots of time. I haven't got the space. I barely have the space either, and I went through a debate last night about enlarging this table, and the voice of reason won over and said, dude, I mean, you got to live in your house, and it's big enough. If you need a bigger table, something's not right here. This table's plenty big. I'm not the philosopher of war games, but thank you for thinking so. Anything below 6mm is too much or too little. So just Jason needs to base those minis. Yes, he does. Matt, I will buy you a plane ticket, and you can come over here and base them for me. That's a good deal, right? You can see beautiful downtown New Orleans. I'm sorry, dude. Yeah, they do need to be based. You have to do that. The rules, again, Battles of Napoleon. It's technically a board game, but it works just fine for minis. Yeah, it came out about a little over 10 years ago. There are horses in the game. The French have one out of command, a chasseur et cheval, and another in command, chasseur et cheval. Blue Tweezers is also live with it. Watch us both. Watch Blue Tweezers and me. Better get painting some Scots Greys. I have Scots Greys painted. I do not have Hussars painted. I have Lancers painted. But this scenario doesn't call for them. So they're over here. And I'm probably most happy with how the Scots Greys came out of all the things I've painted. Enough of that. Back to who's next? The French. Whoever has number 9. Who is that? Show yourself. Okay, so that is the. Is it this cavalry crap? It is. Is it? Is it not? Yes. Yeah, it's this cavalry unit. Now, 1, 2. So if I move to bring, so here's our leader, which I'm lacking a 1 French leader. I have some stuff on order to fix that. But the dilemma is, if I move this leader to bring this guy back in command, then I put them out of command. So this really sucks, and if it was done intentionally at the beginning of the scenario, the designer states one of those guys is going to be out of command. And I've played this probably half a dozen times, this scenario, and I haven't figured out a efficient way to bring both of them in command. I'm not really sure how to do that. I guess what I should have done in retrospect is not move them up and move them this way. Again, I can bring the leader over here to bring this unit in command, but then I put them out of command. So I've kind of screwed myself. I may have to just scrap these guys because I can't. I'm screwed. So movement phase, they have an attack order because I didn't change it. That means they can only move 1, and that might sound silly because of the scale and because they're cavalry, but that's how we're doing it. And they do only have a strength of 2 stands, so they won't last long. The casualties that take place in this game can range from disorder, rout, to remove a stand. So a couple of hits and they could be done. So I did move them up. I'll bring the commander up behind them, and that's the end of that. That's the Chasseur Cheval moving up. I think they're within charge range, though, for the next turn. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but that does bring me within range. That brings us to number 11, Unit 11, French. Where's that at? French again. So remember, as you change orders, that changes your sequential number, so you could potentially activate sooner or later, depending on the number drawn. What did I say, 11? That's this artillery unit. You know, I could fire them again. I was able to disorder these guys last time. Let's go ahead and do that again. Firing these guys as artillery unit. What's the range, you ask? I don't know. 2, 4, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're at long range, so we'll use that's a +0 at long range. Not very good. Let's roll that up. Give me a 10. Ooh, a 9, I'll take it. Thank you, dice gods. All right, so let's see what happens here. Fire value printed on the unit card, 0. Number of stands is what we're using, so that's 2. That's 11. For each rank, they're in columns, so that's 13. And no other weird modifiers. So that's a good result. Let's see what we get. On a 13, nice. We get to remove a stand. So this becomes 4, becomes a 3. But that's not all. If you act now, remove a stand in disorder. Okay. I'm happy with that. So that artillery firing did good stuff there. It did relatively good last turn, too. So that brings us to 13. 13 is French. Which one's 13? That is... Can't read upside down. Should probably face those the other way. Which one was 13? Really? I'm not even seeing that. 11. Somebody change their order. See what happens. I'm not even seeing that. What am I missing here? French. So what are you talking about? Technical difficulty. Oh, British, 13 British. Huh? I can't even read my own handwriting. That means this Highlander unit right here. These are Highlanders, in fact. Well, these actually are. These are just. I ran out of Highlanders, so I had to actually use British line for the second unit of Highlanders. But these guys are legitimate Highlanders. Anyways, both supposed to be Highlanders. What are they going to do? So again, more decisions, and that's the joy of gaming, right? Decisions. Now, at first glance, you would say pull these guys, pivot them, and pull them in towards this French unit. But in doing so, you're going to expose your flank to these guys. Is it worth doing? See, that's the decision. I don't know. Probably not. Can't fire because they're out of my vortex of my range vortex, so I can't fire at them with this unit. And these guys are out of range, right? Isn't that what we said? Yes, they're out of range from this unit, which again probably looks weird because of the scale, but that's how I have to do it with a smaller table. So, what, do nothing? Well, now these guys, it's a given you can fire, but again, what am I going to do with these guys? I'm gonna be bold here. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and pivot and move in for an anticipation of the melee phase in the second part of. What am I doing here? Second part of the turn, which will be the melee phase and the charge phase, cavalry charge phase. This should not take this long, but as far as I've gotten older, I've become more and more meticulous. All right, so that's what they've done. Everybody happy? Well, these guys are going to fire, so let's roll that up. Highlanders firing. What is their... Ooh, they have a +2. That's very good. And they get a melee bonus. Not everybody typically does. 5 is about average. It's not bad for a roll, but it's not really great either. 5, what does that give me? Something? +2 is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, so I already have something. And they're in columns, so I get another 2 for the target. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And okay, just 13. 13 it is. I'll take it. That's just a disorder. Thought maybe I'd get something better than that, but that will prevent them from conducting melee in the second half of this turn. So that's beneficial for sure. So we got that there. What else do we have? That brings us to the French again. Unit Group 14. Unit Group 14. Let's see. What are we going to do with the 14? Which one is that? That is... Why is this happening? Where is 14 at? Oh, it's these guys, right? So 14 becomes a 35 because I changed their order, apparently. 14, so that drops them to penultimate, second to last. 35 is now French. That brings us to 15, which is British. That's this unit group here, this mass, which remember I had the dilemma of determining if I would give them a maneuver order or an attack order. I think I left them with an attack order, and what I will do is, oddly enough, if you're disordered, you can still move. You do have a boatload of penalties otherwise, and you can argue that is flawed, but if you're broken, you can still move. Go figure. My meticulousness kicks in again. Probably should not move them, actually. All I've done is increase their range to the artillery, so I will bring these guys up. Again, they can only move one because they have an attack order, not a maneuver order. Bring the commander up, and I'm not moving them closer to the cavalry because that makes it harder to form square when the cavalry charge. The greater the distance the cavalry has to charge before they hit, the easier it is for the target to form square. So I will definitely be doing myself harm if I move closer to the cavalry. I'm not going to do that. Falling trees, do a shot. That's the rule. Anytime a tree falls, you do a shot. Not me, you. Falling trees. Stay. And there's a potential massive domino effect here if the right tree falls. Can't wait for that to happen. So that's done. Back to the French, unit group 16. That is this unit group here. Who has an attack order. Nobody's within range. No. So all I can do with them is move them up one, which I will do now. Them up here. And remember, they have to stay in calm the entirety of the scenario. They're being punished. So there's that. Think about movement trays for these guys, so I don't have to move each base individually. Bring the commander up. We'll say he's attached to the middle. Bring this guy up. And that. And bring his card up. That card represents all three of these guys. So that's done. Somewhat uneventful. Back to the British unit group 20. That is this artillery unit here. And again, as the British did earlier, all the French have really done is managed to decrease the distance between them and the opposing artillery, which is not good. But let's play it out. Both full strength, so it doesn't matter which one I fire at. If one was greater or lesser than the other, I'd randomize it with a roll and see who gets fired at. We'll fire at the one on the right here. All right, let's roll it up. Good stuff going to happen? Maybe. Roll a 5. I need these. Fire. 5. What's the range? 1, 2, medium range, so we get a +2 on that. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Uh-oh. 10, 11. So because the French are in column, we just made it. And what's an 11? Well, let's look. -2 morale check. Nothing overly exciting there. Let's roll that up. They got an 8. Probably going to be okay. Morale is what's the unit's basic morale there? A 4. Add the 8 is 12. 13, 14, 15, 16. Minus 2 drops to 14. No other modifiers apply, so they are in fact fine. That brings us to 35, that French unit that changed their order and bumped them in the sequence. What do they want to do? What do you guys want to do? Yeah, these two units here. Well, they have a maneuver order, right? Yep, okay. Well, here's what they'll do. They'll move up, but they get to move 2. Remember, 1, 2, because they have a maneuver order. They also bear in mind they cannot move adjacent to an enemy with a maneuver order. You have to have an attack order to do that. So even if they could move more distance-wise, they really can't because that would place them adjacent to an enemy unit, and you can't do that with a maneuver order. So this is what things look like at this point. Where's the leader at? Leader? Oh, their unit card here. Put the leader up. You're not technically really probably supposed to put these unit cards on the game table, but I went ahead and did it. Just makes it more convenient. All right, so there's that. I need to get out of maneuver order, though, as soon as possible at this point, because getting attacked while you have a maneuver order is a recipe for bad things to happen. So that should be the end of the maneuver order. That brings us to 38, the final unit group in Phase A. British Unit Group 38, which is this group here, which is just a line unit. They do have a maneuver order. So let's do it. They are in column, right? Yes. So they can move. If they were in line, they wouldn't be able to do this. So they'll move there too. 1, 2, and then 1, 2 here. It looks like it's going to obstruct the artillery back and to their right, but it will not. I will still be able to fire either of these French units there, because that is the way of the hex. Sometimes it looks weird, but that's how it works out. So there's your maneuver. And again, these guys are going to want to change from that maneuver order to an attack order as soon as possible at this point. Leader moves up too as well. Right there. Their card will go here. That's the end of the first half of the turn. That brings us to a quicker second half. Quicker because this will only consist of units that are adjacent who will conduct melee and a cavalry charge. So again, you follow the order to see who goes first. We have this unit group here, which is a 9. We have a 13, an 8, and a 5. So this French unit group here will go first. These guys are disordered, so I don't believe they can conduct melee. I would fall over if they can. I'm going to verify that. Melee and disordered. Who's the bonus for this? Yeah, it can, but it loses its own rank bonus when performing a melee attack, and is essentially considered as having 0 ranks if attacked in melee. So you can attack in melee, but with penalties. So let's start with them. Where's my... Don't I have... Jesus. Here it is. Keep track of who's doing what. These guys will go and attack this rightmost unit of the Highlanders. Got an 8, that's pretty good. I don't know if that'll be enough, having lost the rank bonus as the attacker. We'll see. Melee. It's a melee value printed on the unit card. What do they have? They do not. And that's 4. They do not get that. More than 8, that's an 11. Per rank of the defending unit, only if the defending unit is not disordered. Per rank of the defending unit, so that drops back down to a 9 because you subtract 2 for the ranks of the defending unit. They are in columns, so that's 2. Again, that drops to a 9. And you could say, well, you have an attached commander, but I really don't. He's attached to the middle here. So they miss. They get nothing for their trouble. That brings us to this. Now, I'm going to do this a certain way. I'm going to use this group with the attached leader as the primary point of attack and use this leftmost group as support, which will boost my results instead of letting them attack separately. You can argue one method is better than another, but this is what I'm doing. Got a 10, awesome. We're going to get some results here, folks. All right, this is 10. Any melee value? No, but the commander has, we'll get to that. So that's 4, 14, 16, 18, 20, drops back down to 18, and I think that's it. So 18, that's 18 plus, you only get one result. There's no more results beyond 18. And I get, as I drag my feet, let's see, 18 is remove a stand in disorder. So that's cool. We drop from 4 stands to 3 stands now here. And this is the light infantry unit here that's getting beat up. And they become disordered. So beat up some light infantry. Here's my disorder counter. But that's what they get, you know. Maybe if they were nicer, that wouldn't happen to them, but that's what happens. That was number 5. Let's keep track of this, right? Then we have an 8. And a 13. And this cavalry group here, which is a 9. So who's next? 8 is next, unit group 8. British unit group 8, that is these guys here. Battle back with, they have 2 units. Do I want to fire them separate? Let's do the support thing again, especially since this guy's disordered. Roll that up. That's terrible. Roll a 1. That's terrible. No melee value there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do have an attached commander 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, but drops back down to 10. Yeah, they got nothing. They just missed a result, but close only counts in what? So that's nothing. That brings us to the French cavalry group here. They want to charge this guy. This guy's going to want to form square, but we have to roll to do that. To do that, it is a morale check. Let's roll it up now. Good Lord. Let's see. He rolled an 8. That's good. Basic morale value 5, 13, 17. Commander's in the middle. Let's say he's in the middle. 17. No. Drops to 15 because they're 2 hexes away. So yes, he forms squares successfully. Boo hiss. Boo hiss. Form square. We'll bring these guys up. I have to determine what happens as a result of charging against a square. I don't recall if they automatically become disordered. Stuff happens though. I gotta look that up. Charging against a square. Let's see here. How? Cavalry charge. Following a cavalry charge in the combat resolution against an infantry unit square. So that's after. So it's just a normal melee, considered a normal melee attack. You get no cavalry charge bonus, which is huge. Huge. But I don't get that because they were able to form squares successfully. So let's just roll it up as a normal melee. Did roll a 10 though. That's nothing to sneeze at. 10, and we're looking at there it is. 10 plus 2 is a 12 per infantry or cavalry. 14, 15 unit group commander, 16, 17, 18. No support. It's going to drop down to. No, it doesn't. It does drop 5 because they're charging against a square, so 13. And that should be it. So what is a 13? 13 is, oh, nice. Remove a stand in disorder. So even though they were able to form square, all is still not well, as they are now disordered and have to remove a stand, dropping from a 4-stand unit to a 3-stand unit. But that's not the end, because cavalry charge against a square. Following a cavalry charge, the attacking cavalry unit and any supporting blah, blah, blah become disordered. Yeah, so as I suspected, post-melee results, cavalry charge against a square results in disorder for the charging cavalry and any supporting units. That's how that works. And that brings us to the final, almost the final thing in this phase. Battle-wise, unit group 13, these guys here, against this already disordered French line unit, and we're going to use one as an attack and one as a support. These are Highlanders conducting melee against a disordered French line unit. This could be brutal. Come on, what you got? 10. This will, in fact, be brutality to the max. All right, melee value of 1, which doesn't sound a lot, but I think most units have a melee value of 0. So here we go. Let's go with this and use them as support. Why? Because we can have the attached leader in effect. So here we go. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Wow. Drops back down to 19. Nope, 21, because they're disordered, so still 21. 22. It doesn't matter, though. It's just once you get over 18, it doesn't matter what the number is. It only goes as far as 18, so that's the max. What did I get here? All kinds of stuff. Lucky the French don't have an attached leader, because he would have been ixnayed. So we have remove a stand, so they drop from 4 to 3, and because it's a disorder result as well, but because they're already disordered, it turns into a rout. So they beat the crap out of them, those Highlanders did. That becomes a rout. A rout is, I believe, 2 hexes away from the pointy sticks. Run away from the sharp, pointy sticks. A rout. Okay. All right. Yeah. Two X's away. Okay. Routing sucks because it puts you normally, anyway, out of command, and it did in fact do that. Not only are we routing, we're out of command, and it's just a mess for this unit here. Just a mess. Now, the British that did this, the folks responsible, can advance, can they not? In fact, they may have to advance because it's melee. Advance after melee is possible for the attack hex to become vacant. It's a must advance. So who's going to advance here? Let's say, oh jeez, can they wheel after that 1 hex advance? Yes, after advances, it may wheel or turn up to 1 hex corner. Let's do that, shall we? Advance, 1 hex corner. So now we are within flank striking capability against this leader-driven French light unit. It's just things are not looking well for the French on their left flank. And we have disordered cavalry. Only half the cavalry we can even use is the French. They're disordered. I'd say the British, tactically speaking, have the upper hand, although you could argue the British 1, 2, 3 losses as opposed to the French 1, 2. So the British have 1 more casualty than the French, but I think they got a leg up position-wise. So there's that. We'll do an overview at the end of the turn, but anybody that's disordered now gets an attempt to rally. Not sure how that's going to work, but we'll start with this unit. Not order sequence driven. You're just going to rally. Doesn't matter. It is hot. All right, so let's roll that up. We got a 4. Not good. I don't think anything happens if you fail to rally a disorder. If you were routing and failed, things happen. Got a 4. Morale of 5 makes 9. 6, 7, 8. No attached commander. Yes, we're disordered. That drops to 6. No, we don't have a maneuver order. No. So they failed to rally. And again, let me double check my math. But after a failed rally attempt, I think nothing happens here. Let's see. Okay. All right, lots of things to consider, but we did not have an attached commander, so I did that correctly, and he just basically failed to route. It doesn't say that anything additional happens. Routing, but they're not routing, see? Routing units or that are unable to form routes. It just stays disordered. So then we have this guy here, and he doesn't have an attached commander either. I definitely need to rally them and he rolled a 10, so that's an automatic rally. So that would be good. Otherwise, we've got 2/3 of our unit group here disordered. We don't want that. At least I don't. Anybody else? Yes, this British light infantry unit needs to try to rally. Oh, crime, he did not. He rolled a 1. I'm not going to bother with that. That brings us to the French toast. We need to try and rally this routing unit, and is that it? No, we have this cavalry. Let's start with this routing unit. You get a hell of a penalty if you're routing when you try to rally. If you fail, he's going to have to retreat another hex, and you can conceivably route off board and lose everybody. I mean, in one fell swoop. We don't want that. Rolled a 9. I feel good about this. We got to figure it out though, because of the penalties. Basic morale value 4 plus 9 is 13. And that is 14, 15, 16. No attached commander. In fact, I'm doing this wrong. Why? Because they have to be within command to rally, and they are not. So they cannot attempt to rally. I will verify that. Within their command radius. No, I'm wrong. So command is done primarily by a command chain, that is to say being adjacent, but a command radius for a leader supersedes that. Yep, it does. So that would be, let me make sure he's within range there. That is a final number on his card, which is 2, and he's, yeah, he can do that. So again, what did I roll? I rolled a 9. 10, 11, 12. No. 8. So you lose 4 for routing. That drops me back down to 8. Do I have a maneuver order, for God's sakes? No. 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 Yeah, he failed. Because he failed, he routes another hex. You see, this is not cool. I'm not a fan of this. I mean, this is, well, now 3, but what's 4? There's now 3 units that are wasted because of this jump. And there's not a lot I can do about it at the moment. Finally, that brings us to, literally finally, this cavalry unit is disordered. Yes, we want to rally it. Thank you. Roll that up. He got a 1. He did not. That's great. Good job. Although he has an attached leader, so let's go ahead and figure it. What is his... I don't think it's going to work, but he does have an attached leader, which might push him over the edge. So that's a 3. That makes 4. All right, here we go. Basic morale value. Their basic morale value is 6. We'll roll to 1. That's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Drops to 10 because he's disordered. Really? Oh, man. Yeah, he just missed it, so he stays disordered. All right, that's the end of turn 2. All right, let's recap turn 2. What happened? We had this mess over here. The French thought they would perhaps gain the upper hand, did not. The Highlanders kicked ass. Routed this unit all the way back here. French were able to disorder, weren't they able to disorder 2? And 1 rallied, 1 didn't, something like that. So we still have 1 disordered unit here, which is shaky ground because if they get disordered again, they'll be routing. So they need to rally when possible, and they can't do that until the end of turn 3. What else British-wise? These guys moving up. French moving up. There's big potential clash here, especially since the British turned their attention away from these guys to these guys. They're going to mop up. I'm going to just call it and say the British are going to mop up over here. Big clash in the center. And then the French right, British left looks about even. So about even, and then I'm going to say the British are probably going to take their right flank. And they can move in around this way, so that's probably what will happen there. That's all I'm going to do live for now, and I appreciate you guys watching. This was another one of those just kind of off the hip, random, unannounced live things. I hadn't done one in a while. I thought, if I'm in the mood, I might as well do it. But that's it for now. Thanks again for watching, and be safe.